completed. We just have one more topic and then your syllabus will be done. Okay.
Ma'am, did
Hmm.
we do experimental proof? You said you'll do later. One topic you said you'll.
Yeah. No, we haven't done that. The DNA replication part, right? Matthew, like
Yes.
Michelson and Stall experiment. Yes, we will do that.
Yes.
Hmm. So, transcription in prokaryotes was completed, right?
Yes.
Hmm. So now see, switch on your video. So in the previous class, we have seen that in the case of prokaryotes, the process of transcription, it happens in the cytoplasm itself because there is no other compartment for it to happen. Now, after the RNA is formed in them, there is no modification as such. Okay, there's no need of any modification or anything. And the process of translation soon begins in order to form the protein, right? Now,
Yes.
furthermore, today we're going to talk about the process of transcription that happens in the case of eukaryotes. Now, see, in the case of eukaryotes, there is like a separate compartment. Like we have a compartment for transcription, we have a compartment for translation. So, transcription process, it takes place in the nucleus. Okay. So, because eukaryotes, they have a membrane-bound nucleus, they have membrane-bound cell organelles, so they have a lot complexity when we talk about their transcription. So, there are many complexities for the case of eukaryotes. Firstly, in the case of eukaryotes, there are multiple RNA polymerases. Like how we saw in prokaryotes, there was not a lot of this thing, polymerase to sort of complicate the whole entire process, right? So, in the case of
Yes.
the eukaryotic organisms, there are multiple RNA polymerases present. And each of those RNA polymerases, they are unique. Unique in the sense that they will be transcribing a particular type of RNA. It's not that one RNA polymerase will be doing the transcription of everything in any. Understood? That's not the case. So when we talk about the RNA polymerase, so they have RNA polymerase specially for the nucleus and they have RNA polymerases especially for the cell organisms. So it's like different RNA polymerases for different locations. Now, there are three RNA polymerases that are present in the nucleus, the one which we are actually concerned with. So RNA polymerase 1 is there, RNA polymerase 2 and 3. Three of them are there. So when we talk about the RNA polymerase 1, so this one is responsible for the transcription of different types of RNA, like the 28S RNA, 15S RNA, and 5.8S RNA. These are the different types of RNA other than the normal ones that you have studied, like mTOR RNA, like that. Then there is RNA polymerase 2. Now RNA polymerase 3. RNA polymerase 3 is the
Ma'am, so in the case of prokaryote, these are not present. 28S, 18S.
they don't have that. They don't have the mechanism also to perform this kind of transcription. Now further, RNA polymerase 3, it is responsible for the transcription of different RNA like tRNA will be transcribed by RNA polymerase 3. 5S rRNA. rRNA is ribosomal RNA. So this one will be transcribed by RNA polymerase 3 and also snRNA, that is small nuclear RNA. The one that we are concerned with is RNA polymerase 2. RNA polymerase 2 is the polymerase that will be making the hnRNA, right? That is a precursor of the mRNA that we require.
Yes.
So, yeah, so this is the one we are concerned with. Now, the whole entire process of transcription is exactly the same, just like how it is in the case of prokaryotes, that is initiation, elongation, and termination. But after the process of termination is done, there comes extra modification processes that takes place and which is there only in the case of the eukaryotes and not in the case of prokaryotes. Clear? So after the
Yes.
transcription, the heterogeneous nuclear RNA formed, it contains some sequences in it. Okay, there are like a lot of sequences present in it, out of which some sequences are called as exons and some of them are called as introns. So exon, intron like that, EI, throughout the length of the hnRNA, they are present. Out of these two sequences, the introns, they are not functional, meaning they don't code for
Ma'am,
anything.
this happens after transcription, like the whole transcription.
RNA is formed.
Yes, ma'am.
hnRNA that gets formed after transcription, that hnRNA contains these sequences. Okay. So exon and introns are the two types of sequences that are present in the heterogeneous nuclear RNA, out of which intron is making the RNA non-functional. Why? Because it doesn't code for anything. Okay, since it does not code for anything, so it is not needed also, it's non-functional. Thereby, one such modification which is done for the, like you can say post-transcriptional modification that is done is the removal of introns. So this removal of intron is called as splicing. And when the introns, like exon is here, intron is there, then again exon. This intron is removed. Now the two exons that are left, they are joined together. Same way, several introns are removed, exons are joined together. Now, this is one modification. Clear?
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
doubt?
Ma'am, the coding strand that was also non-functional. So that does the coding strand consist intron?
Yeah, it does. Introns and exons are everywhere in like eukaryotes. Okay. Now, apart from the splicing mechanism, there are two additional processes that we will consider it as the post-transcriptional process. What are they? The first one is capping and the second one is tailing. Okay. Now, in the case of capping, methyl guanosine triphosphate, this substrate, methyl guanosine triphosphate, this gets added at the 5' end of the hnRNA. At the 5' end, this gets added. Okay, so this process of adding of methyl guanosine triphosphate at the 5' end of the hnRNA is called as capping. This is
Ma'am,
another.
is it added to the 5' end of DNA?
DNA. This is the modification after transcription. So now there's no talk about DNA. Now
Oh,
we are talking about eukaryotes. So everything, all of these things that we're talking right now, it's happening to hnRNA. Can you tell me why are these modifications happening to hnRNA?
mm, ma'am, so that transcription in eukaryote is successful.
So how will it be successful?
So that hnRNA is modified.
So what will happen? Yeah, it is modification only. After the modification of hnRNA, what are you going to get?
Our mRNA.
Yes. The ultimate product that is required is the mRNA, right? That is why all of these things are happening. Changes to the hnRNA are happening in order to get the mRNA. Still, we haven't gotten mRNA up until now, right? We are at the capping kind of modification. Then the last modification is tailing. Tailing is when at the 3' end, means like 5' end is this side, 3' end is this side. So at the 3' end, now there are 200 to 300 adenylate residues being added. Adenine, like 200 to 300 A, like that, so on, are added to the 3' end. And this
Ma'am,
is
but
added,
isn't RNA single strand?
yeah, it is. So
Then
this is
how
the
is it
talk
having
about
two
double.
strands?
Where is the two strand?
Ma'am,
Where are
you
the two
said
strands?
three prime and 5', and is it two different or just one?
One strand will not have the ending. Like 5' is the beginning, 3' is the end. That is, we see, remove DNA from your mind now. DNA is gone. DNA is done for. DNA has moved on. Now you also move on because we are talking about transcription. And when we are talking about transcription and particularly post-transcription means after the transcription has been done. So once the transcription is over, now we are left with RNA. So all these things are with respect to RNA. Now, since we are talking about the eukaryotic RNA, so we do not get it so easily because there are complex procedures. So instead, we have the precursor. Now, everything that is happening to the precursor RNA so that this hnRNA will turn into mRNA. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So at the 3' end of the same RNA, 200 to 300 adenine residues are added in a template independent manner. Independent manner means it doesn't matter whether the hnRNA sequence have any kind of sequence like particular nitrogenous base sequence going on. It doesn't matter. At the end of the 3' end, 200 to 300 adenylate residues will be added. Clear? It doesn't care whatever sequence is there. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the hnRNA is now fully processed, fully modified, fully transcribed, and now we'll call it as the mRNA. Now, the mRNA is going to be transported outside the nucleus into the cytoplasm so that the translation could take place. Always remember that the process of translation in eukaryotes happens in the cytoplasm, whereas the process of transcription happens in the nucleus. Any doubts? Now, some things. The presence of introns is like these two lines are directly from NCERT. Like it is as it is written in NCERT. So it says, NCERT says that the presence of introns is reminiscence of antiquity, meaning antiquity is like the ancient past, ancient history. Reminiscent means something that is still remaining from the ancient history in the present. So introns are that in the case of RNA. Okay. It has no significance and no questions will be asked from here as far as I think. But you should know that this is the direct line. And the second line says that the process of splicing represents the dominance of RNA wood. How we say that DNA came from RNA, right? And RNA was the initial genetic material.
Yes.
So this splicing mechanism tells us about the dominance of RNA in terms of that RNA is processed and RNA is now deciding whether to keep the exon and remove the intron or whether to keep the intron. So this is in the hand of RNA. Understood? So this shows the dominance of the RNA wood. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts? Okay, do you know what amino acids are? What do you know about amino acids?
Ma'am, does it consist nitrogenous bases, adenosine?
No, don't ask me. You tell me what you
Ma'am, it has nitrogenous bases like adenosine, thymine,
know. Okay,
guanosine, cytosine,
okay.
and uracil in rRNA.
So what is RNA?
Ma'am,
Has AU and it has all the nitrogenous bases. You are right. But what is RNA? My question was, what is RNA?
RNA is made from DNA
Sorry, no,
and
no,
it
no. My question was, sorry, I said, what is RNA? No, I said, I wanted to ask, what is amino acid? Sorry, RNA, do you know? Amino acid.
um, amino acid protein. Does it? It helps in the synthesis of protein.
Hmm. I don't ask me. Tell me. Don't ask me.
Yes.
When if I needed to be asked, I wouldn't have asked you. What is amino acid? So you said that does it help in the synthesis of what?
Protein.
Proteins. So are you sure? See, yes, you are right. The amino acids, if you want to call it in a very simple way, amino acids are the building blocks of protein. How many amino acids make one protein?
4.
20. 20. Do you know some of the names of the amino acids? Any? Try to remember packaging of DNA. I gave you 2 amino acid names over there.
Amino acid.
Say what?
Ma'am, amino acid names were given.
Yes. Lysine and arginine, you remember? The histone
Yes.
proteins are made up of lysine and arginine.
Yes, arginine.
Those are amino acids. Same way, there are many amino acids that are there, right? Lysine, arginine, histidine, proline, valine, all the different kinds of this thing, amino acids are there. So when we talk about the genetic code, particularly, we are going to talk about how the amino acids are made. Do you have your NCERT book with you?
Yes.
Take out that page wherein there is like a chart of genetic code given.
Just a minute.
Hmm.
Ma'am, which page number?
I don't know the page number. See the genetic code part, yellow color chart is given.
Before translation.
Hmm.
Yes, ma'am. This chart is given.
There.
Yes.
Hmm.
Codons.
Those codons like adenine, you'll see that adenine is there. Check. Is there adenine in it? In all the different codes, adenine is there.
Ma'am, mm, adenine, yes.
Is it there? A is there.
Yes, A is there.
U is there.
Yes.
What about G? G is there.
Yes, ma'am. G is there.
T is there.
Yes.
T is there or not?
Ma'am, I don't see a T.
Why is T not there? Why is T not there?
Ma'am, is it not pairing up?
Don't ask me.
Because, no, ma'am.
Hmm.
Because this is in the case of RRN, in the case of RRNA, thymine is not there. Instead of thymine, uracil is there, right?
Because we are talking about the protein formation later on, isn't it? We're talking about the amino acids which will be getting together in order to form a protein, right? And
Yes.
ultimately, translation happens to the RNA, right? mRNA.
Yes.
So that is why, very good, that is why T is not there. That is why we have all the different codons with respect to A, U, G, and C instead of the T. Now see, talking about the genetic code, so it is the sequence of nucleotides that is in the DNA and in the RNA which will determine the amino acid sequence of proteins. Now, always remember, if you see in your book, you see that 3 of them collectively give a name to one amino acid. Check. 3, 3, 3, 3. Every single code is in the form of triplet,
Yes.
isn't it? So, 3 adjacent nucleotides, they constitute a unit. And this unit is known as the codon. This is what we call as the codon. Okay. And this one, which codes for codes for an amino acid. So imagine how deep level you're talking about. Right now we know that proteins are made up of amino acids. Amino acids are made up of codons. Codons are made up of nucleotides. How many? So 3 nucleotides. Is it clear?
Ma'am, can you draw a small little flow chart here? So while
Great.
writing, I can make a note.
There are, first of all, 64 codons present, out of which 3 are stop codons. Okay, meaning stop codons means they don't code for anything, they just stop the process wherever possible, right? That is what the stop codons are. So out of the 64 codons that there are, 3 of them are the stop codons. So all in all, we have how many codons? 61 codons that code. Clear?
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
doubts?
Ma'am, can you explain the first paragraph, first
Yeah. See,
sentence?
what is a genetic code? It is a sequence, right? A, U, G, C, whichever sequence is there of nucleotides. Nucleotides, right? For example, if you talk about particularly, you can say the adenine, guanine, all of that. So those are the nucleotides, or you can call them as the nitrogenous bases. That nitrogenous base will be determining the amino acid sequence. Meaning, when 3 nitrogenous bases will come together, whether it is AUG, UUU, CCG, whatever combination. So when they are present in combinations of 3, they're going to make the sequence of amino acid, and these amino acids will come together to make the protein. Clear?
Ma'am, nucleotides have nitrogenous bases within them.
Yes, they do. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
This much is clear. So when we talk
Yes.
about the proteins, so proteins, they are made, shall I write from proteins, they are made up of amino acids. Amino acids, they are made up of codons, right? And codons, they are made up of the nitrogenous bases. So that is how deep level we are studying. So right now in this topic, we have to study the genetic code's feature, the different features that the genetic code has. So, like I told you, that always the genetic code will be present in the form of triplet. Triplet means 3 of them together, no matter whichever it is, but 3 of them together. And when they are read, like AUG is one such example. So if they are read, so there is going to be no punctuation in between them. If AUG is a triplet that we are reading, so it's not that you will stop at A, you will stop at U, or you will stop at in the middle. No, it's like AUG is there, so you'll stop once the 3 is done. Clear? So they have a comma-less nature. The codon is read without any punctuation, no punctuation. Punctuation you can take after 3 of them are done. So after every triplet, you can take a punctuation, but not before that. Genetic code is said to be degenerate. What is the meaning of degenerate? Because it's not that one code is there and it is fixed, that this code will be coding for the particular amino acid. That's not fixed. Okay, sometimes what happens is that one amino, you can say different amino acids can, like one, you can say more than one codon will be coded by one common amino coded for one common amino acid. So there is, like, let's just say some amino acids are there. They will be having the same, you can say, like they could be coded by 2 different types of codons. It's not that one triplet will be coding for one specific amino acid. No. One amino acid can be coded by 2 codons or more than one codon.
Two is,
Clear?
two is maximum.
More than one is maximum. It could be any number. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
For example, serine, leucine, arginine, methionine, these are the different examples of degenerate codon. Now, but these codons are universal. Universal in terms like if UUU codes for the amino acid phenylalanine. So this UUU is going to code it starting from the prokaryotic organism up until the higher eukaryotes. This phenylalanine amino acids are going to be coded by the UUU only. So that is why we say that the code is universal. Clear?
And can you explain again?
Like for example, there is a triplet which is UUU. The combination of these three U's makes the amino acid called as phenylalanine.
Yes.
So this phenylalanine is found in humans. It's found in bacteria also. It's found in fungus also. So in whichever organism it's going to be there, it will be coded by UUU. No other code will be coding for phenylalanine. Starting from bacteria up until the higher organism, phenylalanine is going to be coded by triple U. So it's a universal code. It's not that there's no organism exception to it. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then initiator or start codon. So there is a code AUG which codes for methionine. Like AUG is responsible for coding for the amino acid methionine, but apart from that, it codes as an initiator codon as well. Initiator means in any sequence, if you have AUG, the process is going to begin from there. It is a start codon. Understood? Hmm?
So, ma'am, AUG has a double role here. It goes for methionine as well as starts the
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
Yes.
Clear? Okay. Now, furthermore, we have this stop codon. Now, stop codons are the ones that are also called as terminator codon. And three of them are there. UAA, UAG, and UGA. This is very important. Okay. Try to learn the sequence UAA, UAG, and UGA. They are named after the people that have discovered it. So the first one is ochre, the second one is amber, and the third is opal. Okay, so these are the people that discovered these stop codons. Now the thing about them is that they do not code for any amino acid. So we call them as nonsense codon. They do not code for anything. But if in a sequence you find any of these three present, then the process is going to terminate over there. For example, this is a sequence starting from AUG. So from here, the process will begin because it is a start codon. Then phenylalanine will be made, then some other amino acid will be made. But as soon as the stop codon is present, now the process is going to stop. Now translation won't happen. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, this UGA,
Hmm.
this has to be in the form of UG itself, like it can't be GUA.
No, it has to be UGA. UGA, UAG, and UAA. This so you have to remember as it is. Okay, try to remember it many a times. Okay, UAA, UA, because sometimes even I forget what are the different stop codons because it's all coding. So try to recall what they are. Understood? Any
Yes.
doubts?
No.
Okay. So we are done with the transcription in the case of eukaryotes. Now tell me what is the last thing you've written?
Ma'am, last thing I drew that chart. Yes, ma'am. This thing I
This
drew.
one? Oh. Now you have to write from here.
Yes. Ma'am, done. Mom, done. Ma'am, done. Ma'am, done. Ma'am, done.